Welcome, 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 everyone, to the VO Dojo 21 Questions. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California. And we are joined by the one and only Steven Goard, who I was just recognizing. So I'm so excited to have him here because Stephen has built a career and continues to build a career based on so much that we have his foundations here at the dojo. That mindset and heart set are really the fountain from which, the spring from which all of our voiceover efforts really manifest. So it's thought a great time to have you here as we begin a new year and set our minds and hearts. So, Stephen, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Very grateful. Thank you very much for having me.
Uh,
Um, it's absolutely been a privilege of mine to be a part of the dojo.
Yay. You ready for the 21 questions?
Let's go.
Okay.
Ooh,
What is your one word check in for today?
gratitude. Gratitude. Absolutely gratitude. It's probably my one word check-in for every day. In all honesty. I try very, very diligently to begin my day with that and let there be a focus throughout the day.
Excellent. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Chicago, actually.
I saw your
Born
bears
and
on your
yeah,
bears on your
yeah. I am
jersey.
representing, and by the way, this is a Christmas gift, so they know me. I am a very, very diehard Bears fan. But yeah, I'm originally from Chicago, south side of Chicago to be exact. Born and
Awesome.
raised 71st and South Shore, and
Nice.
I'm very grateful for my background. I think it has a lot to do with, all that I've really tried to bring, when I'm doing my voiceovers.
Yeah, I do think a Midwestern work ethic is part of a good ingredient for success. At least I found it also being from Chicago. Yeah. And where do you live now?
I'm in Stone Mountain, Georgia, actually. Have been out in, well, I've been in Georgia since '98. So I went to school at Georgia Southern, which was my first introduction to Georgia and all of its Georgianess. And I, I pretty much I moved back home, a couple years. I graduated in '95 from high school, so I moved back home. And I stayed for a few years trying to find myself, and I ended up moving to Georgia in '98, actually, kind of pursuing music and production and being a rapper. That was my goal, to break into the
Mhm.
music industry as a producer.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Stone Mountain, Georgia, though. That's where I'm at.
That's fantastic. And what would we know your voice from? From my experience of everything that you've been sharing with you. Where wouldn't you know your voice from? But what's
Um, I've actually had the opportunity to do some really cool stuff. I guess one of the places you may have heard my voice is in the Starry Soda commercials as the voice of Lim. So I'm one half of the new mascots for Pepsi's Starry Soda that replaced Sierra Mist. Uh,
ah, okay.
and then if you possibly have gone on an Australian Disney cruise, you may have heard me as the voice of Kang the Conqueror on their like
Oh, right, right.
Disney Heroes Unite kind of show that they do on the ship for
Mhm.
so
Yeah, yeah.
possibly.
And I think some ESPN stuff has been you've
Yeah,
been doing some
yeah. I've
ESPN stuff?
the end of the year was really pretty crazy with a lot of promo stuff. So yeah, I've done maybe about 3 or 4 ESPN spots that have aired at various times, actually. And I've recently done like maybe 3 NBA spots that are actually playing right now. So those come on a lot during the NBA season. Yeah, one for the NBA app and another one that was a collaboration with AT&T. Actually, somebody just literally texted me the other day, was like, "Is that you that I heard right before I was watching my Knicks on the?" Yeah.
It's
And I
good.
did something for Uber not too long ago, last week, and a friend of mine who drives Uber, he's like, "Man, dude, you're everywhere." Like, is that you? I just heard on my Uber app, and I'm like, I think, yeah, that might be. Is there?
That's fantastic. Excellent. Excellent. How long have you been doing voiceover?
Oh gosh. Well, I signed to my first talent agency, which would have been actually in 2013. That was Houghton Talent, believe it or not.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but what I always tell people is, even though I signed, I booked my first commercial out of the gate, and then I didn't book anything else for like 2, 3 years, and I couldn't figure out why. Then life happened, and I kind of just set it down. I didn't necessarily become discouraged, but I had children, got married, moved, got laid off, found another job, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but definitely I'd say since 2013 is when I started. I actually really got super serious about my career at the kind of midpoint of 2021. And that's when I began to put the effort into the training and the equipment and understanding what I needed to do differently to really be
Mhm.
successful. Um, so honestly, I usually like to say I started in 2013, but I didn't really start until 2021.
That's a pretty powerful perspective. Yeah. 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 So it had been simmering what you'd been doing on your own, and then
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute, this is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just realized, I think, as with most things, in order for you to be successful, you have to put 100% effort into it. And,
Mhm.
I wasn't. I was allowing other things to take my focus, and that happens.
Mm.
But I really, yeah, I put my foot down and just told myself it's time to move in the direction that you've wanted to do for quite a while,
Right. Put your foot down and your full heart in.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really powerful. Yeah. Who's your current team? You said you started at one agency, Houghton Agency, and who is your team now?
I still work with Howden. They've kind of changed a little bit. I actually signed to CESD
Mhm.
last year, and that would have been I signed, okay, so I actually began working with them in May. Um,
Mhm.
May, April. And honestly, at the time I thought I was signed because I didn't know exactly what that meant to be signed, but I believe
Mhm.
I was actually on that probationary period. They were really trying to see, okay, what is this guy gonna do? And I come to
Yeah.
find out that's actually pretty normal. They usually give you like a probationary period, so to speak, depending on how,
Yeah.
you know.
Or hip
Um,
pocket you, like
yeah, they'll send
you're
you
getting
stuff, see how you
opportunities.
do, and see,
Yeah.
booking, is he not booking? But I officially signed with them in October. So
Of
um
2022.
22, yeah,
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
2022.
Hmm.
And that has been my official team. But honestly, I really felt like a part of not even a team, that like I really feel like they're a family. And that's one of the things that I love about CESD. Like for me, the fit was perfect. I love the
Hmm.
honesty. I love the opportunities, and family has your back, and that's truly been what I felt since I've been there. And I look at them as people, not just my agency. They're human
Yeah.
beings who do what they do because they enjoy it, and I
Hmm.
appreciate the relationships and what they do. So I try very often to let them know that, and not just treat them like, hey, send me my auditions, or I'm getting auditions. I literally reach out, and it probably was weird at first, but it's just who I am. I don't
Hmm.
know how to be any different. So if I'm feeling it, if it's on my heart, I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna say, hey, you crossed my mind. I just wanted to tell you I think you're awesome, something like that. So yeah, that, like, my family has been CESD, and that has been since May of last year, but officially since October.
That's really powerful. I think my early career was really based on thank you notes.
Yeah,
Like really just going, thank you. That was so amazing to get to work with you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. It really does. Like I said, that's why I say gratitude is really the base of everything, because I do not let one session end with a client. without acknowledging, one, the opportunity that I was given, and
Mhm.
two, just it's important to me that they walk away feeling good from a session, not just from what I've done, but just from our
Mhm.
general interaction. You know what I mean? It's a feeling. It's like that's what makes people want to continue to work with you.
Yeah,
And truly, I believe you have a business when you have repeat clients, not just a first time client that goes away and never comes back. So
right. It's about building those relationships
yeah,
on both sides. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And and I feel like that about my team, building relationships with clients as well as the people who are, vested in your career just as much as you are.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Switching gears, what is your current setup? I know you said you come from a music background, so I would
Yeah.
imagine that the recording aspect was something that you understood in that context of playing that sport, right? But what's your setup? I see it behind you. I see it in front of
That is the magical room in the back.
you.
So right now, this is actually the studio I built this year. So I started off actually in my closet. And so my first couple years of really trying to establish myself, that's really where I did everything. And my goal was to rebuild. So this is my second studio that I built. When I first moved down, one of my goals was to build a studio. And I did that in the home that I bought. It was in the basement, and half of the basement was my studio,
Uh-huh.
live mic room, and separate vocal booth, and we had the monitoring room and studio A and studio, all of that stuff. But
Mhm.
this here is kind of a upgraded version of that, but it's cozier because of the nature of what I do. I don't need the full production because I'm not having artists come in to record, although that
Right.
could be an option. But
Mm.
yeah, so the booth is in the back. That's an LA vocal booth, which I got this year. Went through trying to figure out whisper room. You have, the was it vocalbooth.com, and so it's
Right.
so many different options. But I loved the customer service they gave me and the options they gave me. And yeah, so I decided to go with the LA vocal booth. This is my sound treated room. So actually, when I this year I had my basement finished. But before they finished this room here, I had them to use the steel wool insulation, and to use the double-sided, I forget, there's a special type of drywall that you use.
Mhm.
And so it's double-sided drywall with the special whatever soundproofing and all that stuff. So the walls are very secure, solid, and non-sound leaking. And then I kind of just went around to figure out what are the best places to put, my padding to keep the reflections down. So this is my monitoring room. Got a little couch over there just for the kids to come in, or people who I have meetings with periodically. But yeah, and then this is my second mic. Actually, I use a Sennheiser 416, for the majority of the stuff that I do. I have my trusty Rode NT1A, which is actually what I did most of my stuff on in my first year and a half of doing
Mhm.
voice acting seriously. And yeah, a couple of monitors. I got some dual monitors here, little webcam from Amazon so we can do things like this. And yeah, I've got a little, I don't necessarily call it like it's got like a salt lamp, and it's got my Tibetan singing bowl over there, and it's got
Mhm.
my manifestation book. And I usually, sound it off before I come in and start my day. And
Mhm.
yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, it's it. Now, this is a standing desk, so if I get tired and I need to, stand, I can raise it up.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, it's nothing super extravagant. It gets the job done, and I'm very comfortable, which was the goal, is to have a sense of being at home. Because I
Yeah.
told myself when I build this room, we are going to make millions in this room, and that's what the goal.
Ah, there we go. There we go. And I love that sense of at the dojo we talk about stepping into your into your creating your sacred space that the work is going to happen. So I love that it's not only the place to work and get stuff done. Oh, I got to do more auditions. It becomes this your booth is your sanctuary
Yeah, absolutely. And
and
that was the word I was actually
activated
going to
in
use.
that
Yeah,
sense.
very much so. Very much so. A lot of I meditate in here actually quite often. There's several spaces in the home that I have to meditate, and
Mhm.
I cleanse them often. But this is definitely one of them.
Hmm.
And that's the goal. I mean, I think the sense of work we have really should be a sense of play. And that's what I want to feel like, when I come in here. It's not like, oh, I gotta walk in here again. I got stuff to do. No, we'll save that for the 9 to 5. This here is, everything that I've ever wanted in a career, and the way you feel when you walk into the office, so to speak.
Right, right, right. Which, yes. I've got questions that are ahead that will keep on flowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of told us a little bit about how you got started. So you started in music.
Mhm.
Well, actually, what did you study? What did you study at college?
At college, actually, I was well, let's put it like this. I went to several colleges because
Hmm.
I didn't realize college, I won't say college wasn't my thing, but I didn't find my why in college.
Oh, there
I
you go.
found it when I moved into the corporate world because I was able to get training for the things that I was good at, which is the technical side of computer programming and graphic illustration. And so I've kind of always been a creative, just to kind of dive back, or take it back a little bit further, um, in some sense, I've always had a creative spark, and I've always been a bit of an artist. I can draw from a very young age, and that was probably my initial goal, was to become an artist, which that manifested in the sense that I became a graphic designer as a 9 to 5er, and
Hmm.
I became a web developer as a 9 to 5er. So that was my, job for 15, almost 20 plus years. And I started off doing little recordings on my silver boombox in my home when I was a kid that my parents gave to me, and I'd have Transformers in one hand, GI Joes in the other, and I create all these different scenarios and scenes. I record it, and this is age telling. I take my Walkman and I would go to school, and the pure joy that I would get just from letting people listen to me be a nut on this tape and just acting out all these different things. To me, that was kind of really where it all started. I was a childhood stage actor for about 6, almost 7 years of my life. Uh,
Hmm.
before I got to high school. And then, my music interest peaked, and I began to kind of do different things to pursue that. So I was doing a lot of rapping, much less, not as much producing.
Hmm.
But yeah, a lot of rapping, and that's really where most of my stage performance came from, is my younger years. And then as a rapper, doing different performances around in schools and stuff. We went to U of I to perform out there at that college when I was in high school. And I formed a few little groups, one of which, stuck. We used to call ourselves the Sleepwalkers. But and then, I grew up and I named a group the Fourth Dimension, because I was really into this understanding of, there was something beyond what we had in our three-dimensional perception. And so I kind of always leaned into that. And so in college, yeah, that was a major focus. And then when I went to school, though, when I moved back to Chicago after I left college, the first year and a half, I went to Columbia College and I studied music production. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where some of the background came from. But most of these things I'm kind of self-taught. I get a little bit here from the formal education places, but I kind of hit the ground running, and I made my mind up. I wanted to move to Georgia in '98 to become a, producer, and that was going to be my way to rap. So I didn't have to make money rapping. I can make money producing, but I can do what I love, because I just loved being behind a microphone. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the real origin story. It all started with the silver boombox and the the GI Joes and Transformers.
That's very cool, and it's always great to hear everybody's ingredients. Each of us
Yeah,
bring so much of what we've lived in life, or the things that might seem disparate, or like, wait, what? That goes with this? Like,
yeah,
what? Um, corporate goes with rapping? Like, yes, it does.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Technical goes with the artistic? Yes, it does,
yeah,
because it's all, yeah. That's
absolutely.
really, really powerful. What would you say the three top ingredients to your success has been?
I would say definitely gratitude.
Mm,
Um, I keep leading with that because I honestly do believe that that's been one of the biggest pieces that have helped me to realize the opportunities that I had, appreciate the relationships that I've developed and the people who have poured into me over my career.
mhm,
I don't think any of us make it where we are alone. It's really a group effort. And if you can honestly say that you acknowledge those pieces, I think that lays the foundation for even greater manifestations along the way. Um, I think developing my sense of self and awareness, which that's a gift I believe that voice acting has really offered me, is a greater sense of self,
Mm,
a greater self-awareness. Because I think the nature of what we do is tapping into these different emotions and creating these stories based on those emotions and using our experiences to help tell those stories. And that's a part of what I think, being able to do that comes from. And then, I think I would say probably the training. Just, really being steadfast about understanding. I think you can be naturally talented at anything, but as with any craft, to become a master at your craft, you do have to continually hone your education, your understanding of the landscape, your ability to adapt. Because in education, as with any education we've received over the years, it's like you can grow up thinking one thing and then science figures out something else that they've been teaching for so long. Then it's like, oh, that wasn't correct. Okay, well, we've got generations and generations of people who've learned this, but now that you figured out this new information, now it has to all change. So what does that do for the people who've learned before? So I think just the ability to adapt, but to make sure that I've continued to educate myself,
mm,
train in this space, and just be willing to be open. I don't think there's any one straight path to success, because success can look different for different people. I think
exactly.
that's there's so many like many things within that too, because I think in the training I've trained with many wonderful coaches, and they've all given me something that I use to this day. But there was never
Mhm.
one coach that just gave it all to me all at once, and I was good after that. So it
Right.
was like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to that sense of self, right?
yeah, yeah,
That we work to lay those foundations, and then we're always that's how we approach things at the dojo. We're here to facilitate you
yeah,
finding your way. So yeah,
absolutely,
that's
absolutely.
that's powerful. Um, what would you say was your big break, if there is such a thing?
Honestly, no, I would say my big break was my very first Gatorade commercial. That was my very first national, and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it came at a time where I was least expecting it, but it was one of those things. It's weird. There's a few times in my life that I can say that, and as I've developed my intuition and my ability to be quiet internally and to still myself, this ability to kind of tap into, it's almost a knowing. It's like you have this sense of, something is positive and it's going to happen almost.
Mhm.
When I recorded that particular audition, it was different from every other audition that I did. And I tapped into a part of myself that was rooted in the music, that was rooted in the production. It was much different than I had learned from all of my coaches, but it was the one time that I felt like I kind of let go. Um, and I
Ah,
just had this sense of like, I'm, I knew it, and it was one of the highest. Like, okay, just to backtrack a little bit, it was a voices.com audition that ended up turning into an actual client outside of Voices.
okay.
So they put it up, and the audition said like 10,000 plus. Most of the auditions aren't that much. And I was like, oh my God, 10,000. I just
Right.
so I'm like, okay, but I just really let go, and I just gave it what I felt like was the most original take on it that I could. But it was just like this feeling. I walked away feeling like, oh my God, that just felt so, great and so like connected. But I had to kind of just like, okay, well, you did the thing on that one that you knew you wanted to do. But
Mhm.
it was just like this feeling. It kept coming to me like, man, you're gonna book this thing. You're gonna book this thing. Like even my wife was feeling something. And sure enough, like I got this message from them on Voices saying, "Hey, you're one of our top selects for this. We'd love to cast you for it, but can you record this again?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I have to repeat my performance." I was so connected, but they wanted, because they were literally selling me to Gatorade, and that was the very first commercial that when they hit me and they said, "You've been approved. You're the voice for the commercial." It's like I cried and I did all the weepy things that you could possibly do when you're happy. But yeah, it was my first national, and it was the first time
Mhm.
that I saw the type of profit from a commercial that was like, oh my God, you can really make a career out of this
Mhm.
doing this at this level. And it also educated me on the different tiers that you can get paid in for, a commercial, and what does that mean when it comes to
Hmm.
class A and you know
Right. It's hard to
C.
hard
Yeah,
to explain the walk to the mailbox until
yeah,
you experienced it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Mm.
but that was the Gatorade commercial was my big break, and I think that also is what helped me to get signed because I had booked that before I was with CESD.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I kind of use that as an anchor, say like, see, I can do things at a
Hey,
high
look,
level.
the money, the money.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that was a big one.
That's great. And then I think it sounds like a real alignment of you finding that place within you
Yeah,
that you were like, boom, this is my being aligned with this piece,
yeah,
and then that aligned with all the things that you didn't even know were fully possible,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you have an idea of it. You're like, oh,
Oh
oh,
yeah, see, just a
I
little
see.
taste. Okay,
I see.
okay.
And I'm in. The
Yeah,
velvet rope has been lifted. Like I'm backstage of
yeah,
this. Like, oh, fantastic. Yeah.
very much so.
So how do we always lift the velvet rope for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes and as the line in voiceover gets longer and longer, if you
Right.
focus on that, right?
Yeah,
If you focus how many people are around the block to get a chance to get in, or you can focus on I'm in
yeah,
and boom, ta-da.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the root of that was giving myself permission not only to just play, but to truly be who, because that was one of the first times that I could say that, there was no real format to how I did that audition. It was real
Mhm.
organic. I felt like I was the rapper. That's that just to be very plain and forward. I was the rapper. I turned into the rapper guy. I just settled into it because it's all a part of who I am. I can speak very eloquently and all of that. But when I'm just comfortable, relaxed, and I felt like I was talking to one of the guys on the basketball court and just let that be the cadence. It felt like I gave myself permission to truly be this word that gets thrown around so much now, which is authentic, but I
Mm.
appreciate it because I think truly that's where we were talking about the self-awareness is like authentic is a word, but it's different for everyone,
Yeah.
because what
Yeah.
makes us all authentic is based on so many different factors from our experiences and how we, influences and things like that. So yeah, that was a big part of it. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that awareness.
Yeah. Excellent. You spoke of starting your journey in 2013, focusing your journey in 2021,
Yeah.
and how long from um starting to making your full living in VO?
Well, truly, I've told myself that, we're gonna grind it out. I mean, I have a big family, I'm a dad of five, and two of which are in college. We've got, one in high school and then two toddlers really just starting out, in a sense, five and
Mhm.
well, about to be five and about to be seven. So, with that being said, I mean, I've been working my 9 to 5 for these last, well, I mean, I haven't stopped working the 9 to 5, but the plan is this year I'll actually be going full time in 2024 with the support of my beautiful wife. She's seen what I've been able to do. She knows that my mind is in a place that is,
Yeah.
I think primed to truly move in a direction that's more than just positive, but that can truly continue to do what I
Mm.
love to do and be able to support the family in the ways in which I desire to. So March 1st is the official launch date of Steven Goard's
That's
full-time voiceover
huge. That's
career.
huge. And that's why I love to ask that question because um, it really does take a while to
Yeah,
establish um, establish your I think of it like a weaving,
yeah,
like to get it so that all the things you're weaving in is voiceover,
yeah.
right? And that takes a little bit. I actually had a graphic design firm when I was in that transition. My husband and I started
Oh,
a
wow.
graphic design firm the
Nice.
the in between times. So yeah, yeah. And so then the game becomes how do you focus and open and connect in to allow that to be the most succinct amount of time of becoming, allow yourself the time for becoming,
Yeah.
and then allow it not to be too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. It's just like, you can drag it out and you can have this false sense of security that comes, I think, from working. Now,
Mhm.
I've been laid off twice, and so that whole glass ceiling was shattered quite a while ago.
Right, right.
I
You
walked around
recognize there is no security except the security that you create for yourself, right?
that could not have been stated more eloquently. I mean, that's the honest to God truth. I think, uh, and realizing that it's really moment to moment. There's no prediction that you can do for 5 years down the line. We can all set our goals. We can all, and I think we talked a little bit about this in our manifestation, thing about loose targets, and I like to create those.
Mhm.
But, I'm not so tied to these targets that I can't be adaptable. And I think that's
Right.
really where success comes in, the faith that you mentioned before, because that has to be there with anything that you do. But this is, acting in general is just a different area. But it's no different than a business that is selling something, in a brick and mortar store. You have no predictions on how many people are going to walk in one day. You have no predictions on how many auditions you're going to get or how many things you're going to book. But the faith that you have and the work that you put in and the knowing, and then the consistency. I think
Mhm.
all of that plays a part.
Yeah, yeah. What are you proudest of in your voiceover career?
What am I proudest of? Honestly, I'm proudest of the people that I've been able to inspire with what I've been able to do in this amount of time. This year was quite different in a sense because I've had so many people reach out to me, and this is the part that I probably say is my happy place. I realized 2.5 years ago, probably when I really decided to put my foot down about my voiceover career. And I say put my foot down just because it's like, sometimes you have to really kick yourself to make
Yeah,
that
yeah,
initial push. It's like all these ideas swirl around in your head, but I
yeah.
figured out my life mission. And I think that's what really grounded me. So I'm very grateful. And I think that was the point that things began to change is my life's mission is to inspire through creativity. It is literally that sentence, inspiring through creativity.
Mhm.
So, the proudest moments of my career have been when I've been able to, you know, communicate with other either voice actors or just people in general. Cause I've had people, tell me like, hey, I see you, I know where you started out from, and I see and I hear you everywhere and I hear what you're doing. And man, that inspires me. And that word just gives me chills,
Mhm.
and I feel so in tune with my life's mission when I hear that I've inspired someone. And I think, you know, um, inspiration is probably one of the highest forms of giving that you can truly
Mhm.
give to other people. It's something that's not tangible, but you can truly see it impacting people in their lives. And that's to me, if I can walk away from any conversation or any opportunity that I've had and feel as if I've been connected to some sort of inspiration, those are my proudest moments. And that's truly what I don't want to say chasing, but that's really what all of this is about, you know.
Yeah, I would say it's truly what you're living.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not chasing it, it's yours.
Yeah.
It it emanates,
Yeah.
so that's powerful, yeah. And on the flip side of that, what is your biggest fear or challenge in your voiceover career?
I stopped actually identifying with fear a while ago, but I will say challenges I think are just a part of what, the natural ebb and flow of energy presents us with the opportunities to learn from. And so while there are challenges, I think in just the normal everyday maintaining the mindset of the connectedness to what you already know to be true internally and the connectedness to knowing that you can truly create whatever it is that you desire and
Mhm,
whatever it is that you truly are connected to um and reminding ourselves through our interactions with others that this is the reality that we live. That's the challenge. It's navigating the ebb and the flow of energy, because I think that's
mm,
truly
mhm,
what we're made of. And having the grace to extend the self-compassion, the compassion that we extend to others sometimes even more automatically than we do to our own, uh
mm,
is the true, I think, challenge in continuing to elevate our energies and our vibrations so that we can maintain this path of inward outward experience.
mm,
And I just that I think will always be for everyone the it's not even a plight. It's just a part of the natural way that nature works. And I think if we
Yeah.
just learn to look at it as a part of what we're doing, then we don't get so upset or so affected when it's this part of the wave. And you can
Mhm.
appreciate this
Mhm.
part of the wave so much more. And when it's here, you just, okay, I'm just it's the equilibrium comes from riding it as opposed to trying to change the wave and trying to
Yeah.
slice through it so it creates some upward trajectory that never has a peak or a valley. It's
Right.
that's I think the biggest challenge probably.
Yeah, ride the wave. That's what was coming through when
Yeah.
when you were speaking. And then you said inside and outside, which leads to the next question. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? How would you
I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a little bit of both. I don't have a problem being, I grew up an only child. I mean, I have two brothers, one of which passed earlier this year on Valentine's Day, actually. And I'm not quite as close as my other brother, but I still love them both dearly. And I think just, I grew up basically entertaining myself a lot. It's, uh, but I think, also outwardly, I probably seem like very much an extrovert because I'm always, I'm the guy that walks in and if I'm in public, I tease people a little bit, I mess with them a little bit. And, my kids, it's like, Dad, you're always messing with somebody. It's just to get a smile. And brighten somebody's day. So I have moments. It's funny because I think that's the wave, right? It's like down
Right,
here is probably
right.
more the introvert, up here is probably more the extrovert, and I'm a little bit of both. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I think the nature of this business is that we need to be both.
Yeah,
So to identify, like, so for some people, we've had Simon Vance as the sensei and a guest for 21 Questions, who's one of the top audiobooks. He's like, I like I like just I'm very much an introvert. So for everyone to be able to go like, well, where are you? And
yeah,
then what is required to find that blend, that equilibrium. I love that word.
yeah.
Love that, the feel of that. Yeah.
Something I ran across this not too long ago in a book that I've been reading called The Magic of Manifesting, and I think one of the pieces of manifestation that has become so prevalent is understanding that there is a period of kind of self introspection and quietness that's very much an important part of the manifestation process, but then there's also this piece of interacting. And so this is where the extrovert part comes in. It's like you
Mhm.
have to interact with your environment in order to be able to manifest. It's an integral
Right.
part of manifesting. So that can look various ways, right? But I love the way they put it in saying interact with your environment because
Hmm.
it's just a little action. Sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot, but moving the needle just a little bit every day is yeah.
Yeah. So the energy can be flowing out so you can
Yeah.
receive it in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's just like what's the point of having lots of money if you just hoard it all? The purpose of money,
Right.
money's an energy, right? So energy flows and it should flow out. And the whole scarcity mindset comes from feeling as if you have to hold on to everything in order to be secure when truly the faith in knowing that by putting back out into it actually allows more to come back in. So it's a
Mm.
a cohesive relationship. You don't have to hold on. Biggest example I can give you is, um, and I'm sorry not to get off track. Of course, I'm a talker, so we can
No, no,
probably.
no. These are the 21 questions. Go ahead. It's all
but
good.
but this year was very good to me in voiceover, and I've been able to do a lot of wonderful things for my family. But one of the things that ended up happening during the year, my water heater broke, my AC unit went out, the toilets broke, all of which, and it was just like one thing right after another, but I did not allow myself to flinch. And when it came
Mhm.
to reaching into the bank account to take care of these things, the feeling that I got from being able to do that without it affecting us, without us having to scrape and scrimp to figure out how we were going to eat. And even with it being almost back to back with some of these things, I still did not
Mhm.
allow myself to, I stood steadfast in the faith that whatever it is that I'm putting out will come back tenfold. I'm just be grateful that you can take
Mm.
care of it. And I can promise you within less than a month, all of it all of it and more came back in ways that I could not possibly predict. So
Yeah.
it affirmed. And it continues to affirm that, connectedness to understanding that there is so much that you can gain from allowing things to flow as opposed to trying to
Mhm.
hold on. Because if you come from a abundant mindset, there's no reason to feel like you have to just hold on to it all. You can allow it to flow because what flows to someone else, and believe it or not, my heater breaking down is doing something for this person that is coming to fix it. And for them
Right.
coming to fix it, someone else is gaining from that. His family is being, so
Mhm.
it's seeing the steady flow of how those events are connected, I think allows me to step out of my own quote unquote perceived comfort in having all of this
Mhm.
inside of a bank account because honestly, you just never know.
Right, right, right. And I think that that applies to everything in our world. And sometimes I encounter people who are interested in doing the work, but then they're like, investing in training. I'll just do a little bit. I'll just do a little bit. Which, doing what you can with what you have
Mhm.
is that's how that's smart.
Yeah,
And then trusting and seeing, well, with this, then what else is possible? With this, how much sooner will I be able to do this? With this, investing and fertilizing and yeah,
yeah,
it's an interesting. I keep on hearing these themes of gratitude, faith,
yeah.
action, trusting.
Mhm.
Um, and knowing yourself, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I know when you spoke with with our Working Pro intensive, the nth degree intensive, in November, uh, you mentioned something about, your relationship with the word failure.
yeah.
Be able to speak on that because I think it ties in with everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different levels to that. So understanding that, I mean, failure is a word that I think was created in a way to give us a sense of the difference between what success is versus what failure is. But we've gotten so caught up on the words that we've missed the opportunities to learn because truly there is no failure if you've grown from whatever it is that you've gone through. And I think for me, just learning to allow yourself to have some grace, giving ourselves, and I mentioned this before, I think self-compassion is a highly overlooked thing, and you find it easy to give compassion to other people. Of course, babies get compassion most times unequivocally, and without question. But it's like as we grow, we lose the sense of being able to give that to our fellow man, to ourselves. And so, realizing that and that's why I think I talked about the whole loose targets thing because I think if we have these goals, it's easy to feel like we failed if we haven't met the goal. But
Mhm.
the purpose of a goal is to allow us to play creatively, and specificity is another piece of that I talked about with manifestation because it's like, you know, saying that we want something is not enough. It's like what is it that you truly desire this experience to look like? Like what is having a lot of money even look like for you? And so becoming more adept to allowing ourselves to really imagine the more specific, okay, I want to book 10 national SAG commercials by December 31st of 2024. That feels like a heavy weight if you call it a goal. If it's a loose
Mhm.
target, then if you land anywhere around there, that's not a failure.
Mhm.
It's an opportunity for you to continue to move in that direction. And believe it or not, because we're in, I think, this three-dimensional, kind of area, manifestations won't be necessarily instantaneous. Some can be. And believe it or not, there's people who can close that gap very quickly. And the more depth we begin to get at kind of figuring out our creative power, our creative abilities, then sometimes the shorter those time spans become between when we manifest mentally and emotionally versus the physical manifestation of these things. But I think overall, there's a period of time where we have to allow ourselves to kind of plant the seed And I mean, you don't plant a seed and see it sprout right away. You nurture it. You do the
Mhm.
work you do the things in between that kind of move the needle. And so there's no failure as long as you're moving in the direction of those things. I mean, it's all a perception, I think, that we can change as we grow and become more comfortable with the things that we've been able to accomplish. You do one thing and you see it, okay, that's possible. Now I can do a little bit more because I've seen what's possible. Let's expand that a little bit. Let's
Mm.
play a little bit more. How much more can because my manifestation goals started off like, hey, I want to book a national commercial. And now it's like, I want to book 15 national SAG TV commercials by such and such and such and such. The specificity though, but it's like I've given myself permission to become more specific because now I know, should I not hit 15, but I get 11, it's still,
All right.
there's no failure. There really is truly no failure. So yeah, I think just replacing those words with words that feel more in line with how we want to see our lives turn out is really what it's about.
I love that. That's fantastic. And it sort of segues into one of the last few questions. What is your VO motto? What would you say your VO motto is?
Uh, Again, it's well, inspiration. That is the root of it all. That
Hmm.
inspiring through creativity, but my voice acting kind of tag motto is where acting meets inspiration. Because for me, because that will always be the root of what is my life's mission, is to inspire people. But the funny thing is I found, because of the area and the genre that we're working in as voice actors, I mean, that's truly what we're doing. I mean, if you really look at it, our voices are being used to inspire people to either engage with these brands, engage with these products in some way, shape, or form. So, you know, we have the ability to inspire people in such magnificent ways, and I don't take it for granted. But yeah, to inspire through creativity, that's my motto. um I will always make time for people when they ask me what can I do to better myself. And I don't necessarily consider myself a teacher. I'm probably more of an inspirator. Not even a real word. I mean, I just made that up.
It is.
Like, I mean, it's because, I think people can learn much of what they need to know through their own vices. It's like you can create a spark, and that's where I think everything that we experience is born from. I mean, if you really want to get deep with it, our world was created from a spark of inspiration. I
Right.
mean, we can never really quantify like why everything is here. It's like we all have these different ways of looking at God and the omnipotent being in the sky or whatever drives us and whatever is connected to our sense of something bigger than who we are. But if you really look back to it and you drill down, and I study quantum dynamics and quantum physics a lot, and this also plays a
Mm,
big part in my manifestation practices. But that understanding of, if you drill down and you keep drilling down and you keep drilling down to the very essence of what everything is made from, then you get to the question, where did it all start?
mm.
And that question, honestly, in my humble opinion, it started with a spark of inspiration.
Yeah.
Because that, I think, for many of us, breeds so much other wonderful abundance that comes from these sparks of inspiration that we have. And we've all seen it in our lives in one way or another. I tell my kids all the time, I mean, you might say you can't do something, but trust me, when you guys are inspired to do what you really want to do, I've seen you guys make some things happen that are just way outside. Like, I may have asked you to do some things and you say, yeah, I'll get to it. But when you want to do something and you're inspired to do something, oh, you make it happen and you find the most creative ways to do it. And that's connecting to that spark, I think, is a part. I've had people ask me like, hey, how do you stay inspired? And I think, you have this phrase I've heard, just find your why. And so many of these phrases sound, so kind of like cliche, but the truth
Mm.
is, it's like, why? Nobody's making us do voiceover.
Yeah.
Nobody's making us get in the booth. I mean, what inspired you? And there's no right or wrong answer, because inspiration can come in so many different ways. And so, yeah, I think that's,
Yeah. Excellent. Powerful. Was powerful. Yeah. Um, and this almost last question is an interesting thing. So we've been talking about how it all came together. Um, I'm always fascinated. So the question is, what is a typical what is your daily practice, or what is a typical day like for you? And it sounds like this year a typical day has had a whole new definition of like what is typical, and now that in a few months you're going to have um
A different typical.
so much more time, like you've been achieving all these things while doing your other 9 to 5 job, and now you're going to have you're at an interesting crossroads of knowing what a typical day has been, what it is now, and then what shortly it has the potential to be. But it would be
Yeah,
great. Yeah, I know we've gotten little glimpses of it in
yeah.
terms of your space and your practice, but
It's
yeah.
honestly exciting to think about because it feels like, again, I'm just one of those people who, I see an empty palette with a paintbrush in my mind that I can create what this is going to actually look like. So, that's what this last few weeks of the year have been, is really cultivating this mindset of, what will it look like? Because I know what this last year's looked like. So just to give you kind of a glimpse of this last year, um, I wake up, and in the morning, I usually, I'm the one that typically takes all the kids to school.
Mhm,
So, after taking them all to school, I come home, the wife is still sleeping, work hasn't started yet. Now, I typically would go into the 9 to 5 office 2 days out of the week. Um, and then I'm working from home the other days out of the week. So meditating before I do anything else, before I've eaten, before I've really spoken to anyone else besides the kids that I've gotten off to school. I take 20-25 minutes, and I literally just sit, and it can be a combination of different things that these meditations are composed of, but they always start with gratitude and they end with gratitude, which is very intentional. Um, then moving into the day, it becomes, if I have to go into the office, then I'm usually prepared to have to make a mad dash home if I have to do any auditions during the middle of the day on my lunch
mhm,
break. And then coming home, I pick the kids up most of the time. I do maybe 75% of the cooking in the home. So
mhm,
just figuring out, what auditions I have, responding to my agents. I typically, the good thing is we usually don't have to get them in until the very next day, but I try my best to get them in that night. I don't like to wait. I think that also has some weight on, our opportunities, but that's if it's a day from working in the office. If it's a day from working from home, typically I'll come in to my office, and I'll sit down after I've done my meditation. I'll look at everything that I have on my plate, be it regular work or auditions that are coming in. And being that I do pay to play, as well as my agency auditions, I'm kind of always on because I have my phone with me, and it usually lets me
mhm,
know if there's an audition that pops up, and I usually try to get in there to be one of the first 10 that have gotten the audition in. Um,
mhm,
just because I understand how kind of the analytics work and the dynamics of, pay to play sites work, and how likely it is that you'll get a listen depending on when you get your audition in.
mhm,
That's kind of my day. Like, my day is literally jumping back and forth from 9 to 5 work, responding to those and making sure that I'm staying on top of everything that I have on my
mhm,
plate there, popping in the booth for an audition if I have to. Sometimes that can mean I got to run to school to go grab the kids, but if there's something going on with them, and I
mhm,
love that flexibility. That's more of what I'll look to have into the new year, as I'm just full time. I can be even more present. Once we pick the kids up, then it's about focus on them. They spend so much time during the day, giving them, time to talk, time to connect, fixing dinner, tucking in. I'm one of those say prayers before bed type dads,
mhm.
and we always do it together. Um, Tuck the kids in, and my littlest one, she gets up like 2-3 times. Daddy, I need a hug. Mommy, I need a hug. Daddy, can you take me to the bathroom? Daddy, I need one more kiss before I go to bed. Stuff like that. And get them in bed. My son, he's out. He hits the pillow, he's gone. My little daughter, she needs a little bit more attention. So older kids usually go to bed about 10, younger kids usually about 8:39. Then I'm down here in the booth and I'm utilizing my time, to either catch up on auditions. Depending on it, like I said, month end, I typically do like a review. My review consists of I have an Excel spreadsheet. So I'll usually mark the date that I had the audition, the casting director, that I get put on hold for it, the specs for it, and then the actual spot that aired. And I'll review all of that at the end of the month because I want to look at, who was cast for it, who the casting directors are, and just figure out ways that I can improve on the auditions that I've sent. Because I'll go back and I'll listen to what I sent versus what aired. And
Mhm.
that doesn't always make me change anything, but it's just an awareness that I think you have to have because a lot of brands don't veer too far away from what they've originally done for the most part, for the most part, unless they're really looking for a new sound. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
always bringing your version of that is my goal, but understanding the cadence and understanding the delivery and understanding what works in certain genres is important. So a lot of analysis. I can be a fairly analytical guy, so there's always this period of analytics that I'll do. But yeah, and then I'm up till 12 1 o'clock in the morning and we do it all over again. And
Yeah.
that's usually what a typical day looks like,
It's it's so powerful because you've had the success once you made the choice, right? You really made the choice and then you've built your life around it.
yeah.
It sounds like you I don't hear you complaining about anything. I hear you embracing everything and not letting anything be neglected. You take care of your work, you take care of your voiceover, you take care of your family, and you do all the things, and that's the harmony of your life. So
Yeah.
I think it's easy to like, oh well, when I don't have this, oh well, that's easy because she doesn't have kids. Or, da, da, da. Like, well, this is your reality. So
Yeah,
what, how are
yeah.
you gonna make it? Yeah.
I love to kind of shadow the just and it's I don't believe that there's, like I said, there's so many different ways success can look for many different people, but I proudly wear the badge of being a dad of 5 children and a husband, and my family is the reason why I'm as
Mhm.
successful as I am because I stay grounded in not just my relationships, but believe it or not, it's just like, and I keep these pretty close by in my booth. So I have several pictures of my family that I'll bring up in the booth as I'm doing different things, depending on what it is. But like all of my children have their own picture.
Oh wow.
My mom,
Uh-huh.
my
Who I love
dad.
already.
Yeah, and it's like the littlest guy, the littlest boy,
Yeah.
all of them. This is my oldest girl. It's their relationships are all different. I speak to them all, of course, from a loving space, but they're all different, and the
Ooh.
way we communicate is different. And I think that assists in trying to figure out, okay, what are we bringing to this? It's like my middle son is so excitable. My oldest, she and I play in roughhouse, and it's been like that since she's been so small. She always pokes me under my arm. I don't know why she does that, but she loves it. But my littlest one, she's so curious. The little girl and my littlest boy, he's so informative and just introspective, and
Mhm.
he's in tune to people. And then I have my second oldest girl who has the dry wit and sarcasm, and it just, we have our own interaction. And then of course my wife and I mean, we play. We have a very playful banter. We're both water signs, and well,
Mm.
I I'm a fire sign on the cusp of being on the cusp of being an earth sign, but she is like a Scorpio with a Scorpio ascending sign and a Cancer moon. So she's all water. I have a Scorpio moon and a Cancer ascendant. So I have a lot of water and some fire. So that's where the introvert extrovert comes from. But we play a lot. We have a lot of fun. And I think that for me is just the grounding piece of it all. Yeah, but my
Yeah.
family's the reason I do what I do. Like I love I don't think it'll ever get old when one of them hears my voice. You know, my youngest daughter, she loves the fact that I'm the voice of the lemon for Starry Soda. She's like, Dad, you're the lemon. And then she'll say one line in the commercial that I have, you don't have ears. Don't have ears. But I live for those moments, and they
Yeah.
will never get old, ever.
Yeah. Which brings us to the last of our questions. Knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself at the beginning of your career?
Oh, what would I say? Have fun, keep going. Just, you never want to lose that sense of connectedness to why you started. I truly, truly love what I do. I love, I don't know if it's entertaining people as much as it is just, being able to see the brightness in a person's spirit when you've given them something that maybe they didn't have in an emotional state before they ran across whatever energy you gave them. um that's been truly motivating for me, so just have fun, stay the course, and be grateful.
Excellent. Well, I am so grateful that you have taken this time to share so much about you and to be able to ask you some questions about yourself, and look forward to having you join us for Ask the Sensei, where we can answer everyone's questions now that
Absolutely.
they know more about you. So thank you so much, Stephen.
Well,
We'll
thank
see
you,
we'll
Tish.
see you soon on Ask the Sensei.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you for the opportunity as always, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate you too. We'll
All
see you
right.
soon.
Okay.
Uh,